He was discharged. But no one ever left MK-B13. That was the last line Detective Hale read before the lights died. The emergency red bulbs flickered above him like a failing heartbeat, casting long, twitching shadows across the abandoned records room. The file in his hand was still warm from the old desk lamp. It read, Subject, Crane, Soren. Status, involuntary transfer approved. Receiving facility, MK-B13-sublevel 4. There was no doctor's signature, only a black stamp. Authorized, DOD internal only. Then a sudden sound behind him. Metal scraping across tile. He turned. Nothing. But the file was gone. Hale burst out of the records room, adrenaline racing. His chest felt tight, like someone was squeezing his ribs from the inside. Every hallway light buzzed overhead, flickering just enough to leave gaps between moments. He needed to know what MK-B13 really was, because if that man, Soren Crane, wasn't dead, then the real nightmare had just begun. The next morning, Hale met with Dr. Lorraine Everett, a former medical consultant for military black site facilities. Retired, silent for years. She'd refused every interview, until now. You mentioned MK-B13, she said, over tea in her sunlit farmhouse. Hale nodded. Her cup shook slightly in her hand. I thought they dismantled it, she whispered. God help us if they didn't. She explained. MK-B13 had been a Department of Defense neuropsychiatric program buried beneath a decommissioned airbase in Utah. Its objective? Test experimental mind control protocols on violent psychiatric subjects. And Soren Crane? He was their poster child. Crane had survived 3 IED blasts in Afghanistan and suffered from extreme combat trauma. After killing his commanding officer during a dissociative break, he was labeled mentally defective, high value, and rerouted to MK-B13. They believed his fractured mind made him easier to reprogram, Everett said. So they rewired him, like a human machine. Using a method called induced amnesia cycling, they erased portions of his memory, then rewrote behavioral scripts triggered by specific codes. Words, sounds, even smells. But the project failed. Crane's identities didn't blend. They splintered. And one of them, known internally as Soren 3, was violently unpredictable. They locked him in isolation, then quietly erased the project from public view. But someone had transferred him out. Back in Texas, Hale revisited Hollow Creek's ICU blueprints. Deep in the architectural archive, he found something disturbing. A sub-level that didn't exist on any current map, marked B-Wing, level -2. He'd never heard of it. No nurse had mentioned it. It wasn't accessible by stairs or elevator, because the access point was sealed behind the morgue freezer. He needed a warrant, but he didn't have time. That night, he snuck in. Behind the morgue's walk-in freezer door was a hidden shaft, just wide enough for a single person to slide through sideways. It descended into pure blackness. No stairs, no lights. Just a metal ladder leading down into the earth. Hale took a breath, then climbed. 12 minutes later, his boots hit concrete. His flashlight revealed a hallway. The air was damp, metallic. The walls were tiled white, yellowed with age. But what truly chilled him were the scratches. Dozens of claw marks along the walls, like someone, or something, had been dragged, restrained, and fought back. One door stood slightly ajar. Room B13. Inside, an old hospital bed. Broken restraints. Blood on the wall. Old and faded. But someone had left a message scratched into the mirror with a piece of glass. MK-B13 lives beneath the skin. We rot before we remember. Then, in the corner of the room, a tape recorder. Hale pressed play. "This is Dr. Sloan. If you're hearing this, it means Crane has breached the cycle again. He'll be looking for the triggers. He won't know who he is, but he will remember pain. God help the ones who remind him of it." End sequence was never initiated. MK-B13 was never deactivated. It was transferred to hospitals across the country as patients, as staff, as ghosts in the system. If you found this room, you're already on the list. Hale reeled. MK-B13 wasn't a place anymore. It was people. Patients experimented on, reinserted into civilian hospitals without knowledge or memory. Time bombs hidden in plain sight. The disappearances, the unexplained codes, the surging ICU deaths. It wasn't just Soren, it was others like him. Meanwhile, across town, Nurse Michelle Benton opened the supply cabinet on floor 4B to grab saline bags and screamed. There was a body stuffed inside, bent backward, mouth open in a frozen scream. Pinned to his chest with surgical scissors was a photo. Detective Hale's ID badge. And the message, he knows. The FBI arrived in full force, led again by Agent Marla Quinn. "I told them MK-B13 was still active," she whispered to Hale. "But they erased my clearance the minute I filed it." Hale showed her the tape. Quinn paled, then added her own revelation. "We found another facility, in Oregon, abandoned, files left behind." She pulled a photo from her bag, a wall of faces, each labeled with numbers, not names. But Hale recognized one of them, Nurse Caldwell, the one who had been murdered in Part 2. She wasn't just a nurse. She was one of the MK-B13 test subjects. "Why kill her?" Hale asked. "Because she remembered," Quinn replied, "and that makes her dangerous." "But she filed the report," Hale said. "She knew something. She saw Soren." Quinn nodded. She may have seen more. Then added, "We think Crane was sent back here to trigger the rest." Trigger them? It finally clicked. MK-B13's final experiment wasn't about wiping minds. It was about planting programmed violence into unstable identities, and then activating them. Crane was the match. The others were the fuse, and someone, somewhere, had just struck a spark. Hale raced back to the hospital, straight to Caldwell's old locker. In the back, behind the lining, was a small, zip-locked Polaroid. It showed 8 people standing in a hospital hallway, all smiling, all staff. He recognized 4. 3 were dead. The 5th was wearing a visitor pass, a man in a baseball cap. Face partially obscured, but Hale had seen him once before, in a surveillance feed from 3 weeks ago. Then Quinn called him. Her voice was shaking. "Hale, we just lost contact with a facility in Pennsylvania. 23 staff dead. All ICU. They're saying it was one man." Hale felt a chill crawl up his spine. Was it Crane? "No," Quinn whispered. "It was someone else. A former orderly. Admitted to MK-B13 in 2011. Discharged in 2017. Codename, Greybird. And it gets worse." She sent a file through. Hale opened it. A live security cam feed. A hospital lobby. And walking through the sliding glass doors was Hale himself. Or someone who looked exactly like him. Badge, clothes, ID. But not his eyes. Not his walk. The imposter stopped at the desk, smiled into the camera, then whispered something no mic could catch. And in the next frame, everyone was dead. The next morning, Hale woke in his car, unsure of how he'd gotten there. His clothes were clean, his gun was missing, and on his passenger seat, a Polaroid of him, standing over a body, his own signature on the kill report, but he has no memory of it.